One X-Wing? Great. We're saved.
I'll look around until I found someone who laughs like you.
Intro.
What?
Intro's kind of soft, but I love it.
What? Come on, this is supposed
They
to
totally missed the Cardoon entrance too because you weren't live yet when you played it.
My internet sucks. What do you want? Sorry,
Y'all
everybody.
missed
Hello.
a great intro by Gina Carano. That's terrible.
Here, hold on. Here, I got you.
One X-Wing? Great. We're saved.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Star Wars that we love with my co-host, Drunk 3PO. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Hello. I'm good, man. Really good.
What a week for Star Wars, huh?
Just when you think they can't surprise me anymore.
I was cast from the alabaster halls that were the Star Wars fandom. Look, hey, we're not here to talk about that tonight. Trust me, there's plenty of that to talk about. But no, tonight we're here to talk about a special little movie by George Lucas called Attack of the Clones. Probably, what's interesting, the most controversial movie of the prequels. People seem to hate this movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if it was controversy, but just people are just like, I can't. This is the least favorite.
Which is mind-boggling to me because I think it's like right there with Revenge of the Sith for me. There's something about this movie that I love. It's just like super campy, super perfect, action-packed, beautiful Star Wars.
So this was the first CGI Yoda that we got to see.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're looking up a little bit of trivia. Got a little bit of trivia.
Oh, I did my homework.
Okay.
I did my homework.
All right.
I know
Okay.
what's going on?
We're gonna have to come back and revisit that because I do have a couple trivia questions for the chat. We'll see if Jay can get these tonight. They're gonna be interesting. They're no softballs either. These are gonna be
Probably
good
can't.
We got our first super chat from Matt Rissman. Not gonna make it tonight for $9.99. Have a great stream.
Birthday.
Peace and love. And hey, yeah, happy birthday to the Grand Moff himself. We were glad to have you on yesterday. We'll give you one more, just one more last one.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
He likes Monroe.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? What's up to the chat? I see Justin is in here. Anakin Skywalker, good to see you. We're going to be talking about you today. The Shadows Dragon, King's Advisors, Cody Eichholtz, Leia Rose, Corso Travin, Georgie Girl, Holocron, Nikki throwing the pride flag. I'm glad to see you repping your people. That's good. Do your thing.
Yeah,
Lady Marine
she's a
is
Wikipedia
here.
fan.
She's a big Wikipedia fan. I think she's one of the Wookiee creators. Sparta 300, Gray Pilgrim. Well, so and Project Egg Roll showed up in here.
I love Project Egg Roll. Yeah,
Project Egg Roll?
I tried to bring everybody over from the Twitch stream over.
Killer. Well, glad to see anybody from there. Legion of Maul, good to see you. Kings, as always. Darth Weaven, Valientes, Coffee on Korriban is here. What's up? Evan Martin, Valiant Archer, Phil TMNT. Who am I missing? Drebin692. What's going on? Anthony, YouTube fan. And Mike, the Stan Chill Porter. What's going on? And Felicity Poobell. Good to see you guys. Okay. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Give me your top-down assessment just to start. Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. When I first saw this film, I immediately left thinking this film was created definitely for a video game. Like, they are definitely going to make some video game stuff with this. And, you know, like when they're going through the droid factory, things like that, I'm like, okay, this is... I think George had video game and things like that in mind. when he made this film. I
Yeah.
loved, again, just like any of the prequels, there were scenes that were like, oh my gosh, and then there were scenes that were like, ooh, stop talking. The cringe love affair dialogue was really something, but it gave us the ultimate Anakin's best cringy line of all time about sand.
I don't like sand.
Yeah, and that's been memed to death. That's all over the place. And I love the fact that Hayden Christensen, even at these conventions, leans into that like he should, man. They ask him questions like, what's your least favorite part? Or like, well, it's sand, of course. You know, it's so fun. He's so funny.
Yeah.
You got to love the guy. This was our introduction into Hayden Christensen. So we got to see a little bit of Anakin. And I think a lot of people were expecting Darth Vader. Like, they were expecting Anakin to be not so whiny and not so, you know, he was like, technically he was what, 19 in the film? He was supposed to be 19. So he was a teenager, guys. Like, you had to like understand, teenagers are punks. We all know this. I was a punk as a teenager. I knew.
Well, not only was he 19, he had also been repressed into like a Jedi Order. He had like no social interaction with females. He wasn't going to be Rico. He was more suave with females in Watto's shop than he ever was with Padme in that entire movie. I liked it. I'm going to go a little deeper. I'm going to go a little bit deeper because I'm not going to say that age. I was around that age. I was not great with girls. I'm still probably not great with girls, but here's the deal. There was something really awesome about seeing Anakin as like such an absolute badass, but he was completely socially awkward. I think a lot of nerds at the time just really like held on to that. Like, I can be a badass too. You know what I mean? So it was inspiring.
I thought it was cool too, but again, I think people were wanting to see Anakin Skywalker, not.
Yeah.
But if you watched it for what it was, I think he played exactly who he was supposed to be, a teenager. Yeah, you're right. His whole life, hey, you're the chosen one, Anakin.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon died, so that you could be here. Qui-Gon, one of the most respected Jedis, died so you could be here with me, right? I'm Obi-Wan. You're my first trainee. Okay, so you're the chosen one, Anakin. So you're supposed to be better than all of us eventually one day. So imagine being told that when you're such a young kid.
And he only had one thing on his mind the whole time. They're like, you need to focus, bro. He's like, but I'm trying to. They're like, boo, you really got to focus, dude.
It's like, you're supposed to be greater than all these people. So that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, this is one of those things. I think with the prequels, so many times people say Star Wars is for kids. Like, and so many times I feel like that's not true at all. But to be honest, I'm going to get to it. But to be honest with you, like, I feel like the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, those were meant for the kids who were that age with the Phantom Menace and then grew up a little bit more and then got Attack of the Clones. Those two movies were geared for kids. That's what I feel like. I see Wicked Virtue in the chat. What's up? Good to see you here.
I think they were geared towards Star Wars fans.
I like that a lot better.
Everybody appreciated it on every level. And that is the beauty of George Lucas, which I appreciate, is that there was no wasted characters. If you didn't resonate with Anakin, you had Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everybody freaking loved Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. You got freaking Mace Windu. We got to see these things.
How do you say it?
Mace Windu, whatever you want to call it. Mace Windu. I remember watching the some of the making of Attack of the Clones when he showed his lightsaber. It engraved on it said "Bad Mother Effer." Yeah, it's engraved on this lightsaber. So there's that. And for the first time ever, we got to see Yoda in a lightsaber duel, and that was like. It's almost like all the current, whatever you didn't like, when the dude just went and he pulled his lightsaber out, you were just like, Star Wars gasm, man.
That's how I felt. A lot of people didn't feel that way. A lot of people were like, I didn't want to see him.
Nuts.
Well, yeah, how do you not in that moment? But I mean, like, I lost my shit when Yoda pulled out lightsabers. Yeah. Like, I've been waiting so long to see this, man. And the fight, I mean, obviously the choreography with Nick Gillard, absolutely bar none, top notch, best best lightsaber fights I think we're ever going to get in Star Wars. I don't know that we're ever going to get back to that, which is kind of depressing. But yeah, so I mean, you get a continuation of the Phantom Menace with high-powered Jedi. We're getting into a war now, and that's not even to bring up all the stuff with the cloning facilities. Like, we get to learn where Boba Fett came from. We get Jango Fett. We get the cloning facilities and the Kaminoans, like all these cool different worlds. And it was that kind of world building that just it makes it puts you in the movie in a way that like I never got with the sequels. I don't know what it was. It's just it never really took the time to build the world, and a lot of times people say it's so boring, it takes too long, but I feel like that's the most important part.
No, man, I like the it brought a twist in the middle when Kenobi was captured.
Yeah.
And they basically told him what happened.
Yeah.
He was like, what if I told you that the Sith is running everything now, and Obi-Wan didn't want to hear it?
No.
He didn't want to hear it.
The Jedi were blind, right? They were clouded. They couldn't see what was happening right in front of them. There's so many good, like, people are bringing so much stuff up in the chat. Like, there's so much to talk about. The diner scene, like, Dex is one of my favorites, man.
Dex is awesome, and I was hoping there was a little section in Galaxy's Edge that they were making his diner.
Dex's diner.
Yeah, so you could go in and get a miss. I thought he was awesome. He talked funny, but he was an alien. Hey, what do you know?
Sounds exactly like my uncle.
He's like cloners. It's like, we also got to see Yoda training younglings for a second when Obi-Wan comes in. Is like, I can't find this planet. Mm-hmm. And all these little pieces starting to add up where it's like, who was that? Who deleted this from the data bank? It's like, who authorized these clones? Who are these people? What's the deal with Dooku? What is he's with the banking clan now, they made a treaty.
Yeah, who's Sifo Dyas? Like, who the hell is that? I've never heard of him before.
Yeah.
Who's Sifo Dyas?
Master Sifo Dyas.
Yeah.
And then I just love that. Like, Dooku literally looks at Obi-Wan and goes, hey, I'm going to tell you everything that's going on. The Sith are in charge. Like, the Jedi are blind. But then Dooku was also kind of trying to manipulate Obi-Wan to bring him to his cause. Mm-hmm. Even though he was working with the Sith, he was kind of saying we're fighting against the Sith. And Obi-Wan was like, yeah, whatever.
There was this big, like, almost murder mystery kind of like whodunit feel to it that was really awesome. And then they worked in a whole war movie in like the last hour. There was a whole war movie, which is still to this day, people are going to get mad at me. Nah. I think that's my favorite part of Star Wars is the Clone Wars. Like, just
when Mace Windu is walking up, this party's over.
It was so good.
He freaking launched off the edge and his cloak is on fire and he just
was so badass. I did so I actually took like a little bit of felt when I was a kid and I had a Mace Windu figure. He had the blue lightsaber because it was the Phantom Menace one. And I lit his little cloak on fire and I tried to jump off the porch with it and I ended up lighting like half of my yard on fire. I got in a lot of trouble. For that.
So those were awesome. Then we had, these are nitpicks, but the scene with Anakin and his mom could have been a little bbit better. That was a little, it's one of those things where the timing was weird, where he finds her and then she dies, not, right over there. The person inside of me wanted to see Anakin go ham for like another 5 minutes against sand people. Not just a couple. I cut off a couple heads and then that was it. Yeah. But you were just like, no, show the whole thing. Show him like.
Yeah.
But then when he's like yelling at Padme, he's like, oh, hey, I killed the children too. And you're kind of like, oh man.
Children. And he throws that little can across the room. I hate that.
I killed our children like animals. And you're just like, okay, hey.
Chill, my guy.
I'll give you back your PlayStation. Just calm down. So, but
yeah,
the cool thing about that scene though, bro, is like you knew it was coming. He's like, they're like, where are you going? I'm gonna find my mother, and he gets on that speeder and it's like, dun-dun! The set was that was
cinematic, dude.
That was a beautiful scene where he's just like flying through Tatooine, and that's when you got to see a little mad Anakin where he was like, went back to Watto and he's like, yeah, tell me where she is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
I'm messing around, bro.
Yeah. My hormones are all over the place, buddy. You don't want to mess with me right now.
It's all sexually frustrated Anakin. Poor little booger. Yeah. So, I mean,
that was
I guess
cool.
My question would be for like the theme of the movie. What if you could nail one down, what would be the theme for the Clone Wars? Because there's like 9.
The Clone Wars,
or Attack of the Clones, I should say.
I don't know what the theme would be, but it just was it was like the beginning of the end of the Jedi, because they were like, the Jedi were all in with the clones.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that till Yoda brought them to Geonosis. It was like the Jedi were dying. Like they were getting, when it was the final battle is that Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, Mace, and a few others.
They were mopped up, dude.
And, it's like, this is it, man. Like, this is it. And then the clones show up and you're like, okay, they're really doing this. But it set up Order 66 perfectly.
Yeah.
Because, you trained, you're with the clones, they follow your orders, they're doing all this stuff, and they turned on you in the next movie.
So I didn't know at the time when I was watching it. Did you know anything about Order 66 or what was going to happen?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, see, I didn't either. I mean, I was just
you kind of knew what was happening, that Darth Vader was going to be created.
Yeah.
The talk amongst the town was, when were we going to see Darth Vader in this film? Because he turns to Darth Vader before he gets all cut up. So we knew that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how long does he stay mega powerful Anakin Vader before, he has to put the suit on? So that was always a wonder. And I don't know, man. You come from the original trilogy where this creation of Darth Vader is the baddest man on any IP you take. Who's the greatest villain, the most powerful? Darth Vader. Like that's just, at that time, Darth Vader. There was no
Space Adolf.
There's no Marvel. There's nothing that can compete. Even today, they're like, could Thanos and Vader, who would win? Vader would take him hands down.
Yeah.
But it's just like, and then so you get to see, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna see something really cool. The only other nitpick stuff too was, this was the start of the great CGI stuff in movies, and George was like, it was early technology for it. So
you want to talk about leading the pack, though, dude? This stuff still holds up today.
Yeah.
I mean, I go and watch Attack of the Clones today. It looks better than some of the stuff on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff on Disney Plus.
No, but it's true. But it was a little, sometimes it got a little out of place. So I think the biggest problem scene that I ever had was when they're chasing Dooku and Padme falls out. And Anakin is yelling at Obi-Wan to stop. But you could clearly see the ship moving like at light speed.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, turn around, like, get Padme. And Padme's, just laying down there. And they're having a teachable moment for Anakin. Like, yeah, she would do her duty. So it just, the way the CGI worked, it didn't look good at that particular scene. But,
You know what mine was? It was the clone when they're walking through Camino, and it's not Tamara Morrison, and there's just like a random clone eating lunch, and he looks nothing like Tamara. I was like, if you're gonna do that, just stick with it. Make them all look a little different, right?
Did you know that whole scene that they talked about that? He was sitting down with nothing.
Yeah.
Everything was CGI'd in his hand, the bowls, everything. He just sat in a green screen, and they're like, act like you're eating cereal.
Yeah.
All right, this scene, act like you're doing this. And the same thing was when they went back to Naboo in the like when Anakin was lifting up the fruit and Padme ate it. All that is not there. It was all, make believe. So he had to make believe all of that.
I think that's my number one cringe scene is the pear scene. Obi-Wan would be very grumpy. Like, oh, come on, man. That was a little tough.
The funny thing is, though, they were kind of flirting with each other, and then when it got at night, Padme's wearing like the, her boobs are kind of sticking out, and you're like, oh, now they're getting serious.
I will send you to Jesus.
You could see the look in her face, like, should I really fall in love with this guy?
Good thing I wore this dress.
I think she had the worst line of the whole movie when they're about to die. She's like, I deeply, madly,
deeply
in love with you. I thought that was the worst line of the whole movie.
I was in it. I was totally in it. I was like 13. I'm like, God, she's perfect in every way. I'm just saying, if I'm gonna die, like, yeah, I'm gonna try to get Senator Amidala to say something like that to me.
But again, what George did, that was excellent with Padme too. You had two Jedi together that are tied up, and Padme, who has no Force abilities.
Yeah.
And she was just as cunning and smart and able to break away from her attacker. And she might have had the worst one. She had like the lion thing that was jumping and scratching her back. And Anakin's like, what are we gonna do about Padme? And Obi-Wan's like, she's on top of things.
Yeah,
it's like and it just showed these strong women, that was able to kick butt like everyone. And look, she survived at the end too. Like, she had to, but I'm just saying, like, she wasn't doing no lightsaber stuff, but she had her gun and she was doing what she had to do.
What was it about George's ability to make strong female leads that weren't, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't preachy in any way. Like, it was super believable. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Leia would totally do that. Like, oh, yep, that's definitely something Padme would do. I think he made them strong before it got to the action, and that's how it was believable when it happened. Does that make sense?
I mean, they were on Tatooine, and Padme's like, Obi-Wan's like, Anakin's like, I can't leave. And Padme's like, well, I'm going to Obi-Wan and you got to protect me. So bye.
Yeah.
And it just showed who she was. And I also like that aspect too, because it also showed how much she cared for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which built that more tension into 3. You know what I mean? Where it was like, because of Obi-Wan, huh? And he was giving her the talking to. So,
yep.
I thought it was just all like really, it worked out. It worked out well. Caminos, everything. So we all fans of Boba Fett who really wanted to see more of Boba Fett after the original, got to see Django do a thing like the rocket, the flying, everything like that, fight a Jedi. That was so cool. And
we got nods to the OT there too, because the reason Boba Fett knew that Han was stuck on the garbage was because of what happened in Attack of the Clones.
Exactly. Did you know that?
There's going to be a small trivia break here. Chat, I want you to get into this too, because these are fun. These are good ones. Okay. Where do we want to start? I have like 5 good ones I want to do, but if we want to do just a few. So, due to the animosity aimed towards a certain character, what was the working title of this movie? Attack of the Clones. Because they do a Blue Harvest. They always have a different working title. What was the working title?
That I have no idea.
Due to the animosity aimed towards a certain character, what was the working title of Attack of the Clones? I'm going to see if somebody in chat gets it. I know they're Googling like mad right now.
No Google here.
We got Jar Jar Strikes Back, Revenge of Jar Jar. It was called Jar Jar's Big Adventure.
Was it really?
Yeah, that was the working title for Attack of the Clones. I just thought that was a great one.
Jar Jar was in this film briefly.
Briefly, yeah. Somebody was stupid enough to put some robes on him and tell him he should run government.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a dig by George? He's like, incompetent. Just incompetent. He's like, here's your government officials. It's Jar Jar.
No, I honestly look at our government officials. So maybe it was a dig at our government officials at the time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was just a dig.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, like Jar Jar was a general, and generals representing his country and his world, I guess. So
He was
maybe his
trolling
king was like, all right, now that the war is over, what are we gonna do with Jar Jar? He will be our representative of our people, so
Yeah.
you can get away from me. So you go to Coruscant.
hard. Just leave.
Yeah. So
Okay, got another one. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, I just had it. I'm so bad at this, bro. It was here we go. This movie, Attack of the Clones, is one of only 2 Star Wars movie where the camera shot tilts up after the opening scroll to start the scene. What is the other movie?
Empire, right? No, it wasn't Empire. They went down.
Chat. What are you guys thinking? This is a tough one.
One of only 2 Star Wars films that scroll up.
After. Yep. A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, Rogue One. It was Rogue One.
Dude, I'm stuck in 6 movies, so that's my. I didn't even. My brain wouldn't even process sequels or Rogue One. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Rogue One is the only other one. All right, nice little break there. Let's get back to it. Favorite scene from the entire movie?
Oh man, I might have to do a couple. I loved Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Dooku because that was one of the first times you kind of see Obi-Wan like, here you go, Anakin, you got this. You know, here's my lightsaber. And we got Anakin with 2 freaking blades, dude.
That was pretty bad.
Like, just going for it. And yeah, he was young, but he got his arm cut off, and you're like, ooh, so there it begins. Here comes the Darth Vader.
First one.
Yeah, here comes the Darth Vader transformation. And then Yoda comes in, which I thought was awesome. But I like seeing Anakin, and I like the lightsaber. I loved Jango Fett chasing Obi-Wan in space and dropping those sonic charges. Was freaking top tier, dude. I love that scene. Oh man, like that was so creative. I loved it, man. You got to see Slave One. That's what I'm saying. I'm a huge Boba Fett, huge Boba Fett guy. So to see his ship in all its glory, everything that he could do with his, his armor and everything was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And then to see why Boba Fett was angry because his dad's head got cut off. Back when lightsabers could actually do that.
Yep.
So it was.
Lee brought his A game that whole movie, dude. So good.
So like if I like to, I guess those are 3 different parts of the film, but like in the first act, I guess I just got to see like the grimy streets of Coruscant, like which I thought was awesome. I wish they had more of that. That was actually supposed to be in the final film of the sequel trilogy. Finn and Rose were supposed to lead a rebellion in this. If you didn't know, in the grimy streets of Coruscant, I thought that was great.
You're talking about chase Duel of the Fates?
Yeah,
the Trevorrow script.
Yeah, I love. Have you read that? It's really good.
Yeah. It's a lot better.
Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, I like seeing that, man. Jedi business. Back to your drinks.
Back to your drinks. That was my favorite when Obi-Wan was like, or Anakin's like, "Where are you going?" And he goes, to have a drink. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, nice.
And then and then the key line: want to buy some death sticks?
Yeah.
I want to buy, and people do this all to this day. Want to buy some death stick? Like it's a joke. It's great.
Yeah.
So
The classic Obi-Wan mind trick, man. There were
was
so many
great.
nods. He was so good at nodding back to his stuff. It just never felt forced. I don't know how he was able to do it so well. And then other times it just feels so forced. I don't know. Wow, see, Corso Travin's bringing up. Probably, I'm going to be honest with you, like, the more I talk about my favorite scenes in the prequels, the more I realize I'm the person they were talking about when they're like, some of these stupid Star Wars fans want nothing but pew-pews and lightsabers. I'm like, oh,
yes,
shit, that's me. That is totally me. Like, what's your favorite scenes? Man, the Battle of Geonosis and the duel, everything that happened in the hangar. You know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Yoda showing up, the whole fight, everything. I like, it's top tier Star Wars for me, and will always be top tier Star Wars for me. And I collect like crazy.
Did you like Dooku's ship? It was like a sail.
The Solar Sailor?
Yeah,
that thing was sick, man.
it was like an elegant ship for who Dooku was. I thought it
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, it was cool, and it's the idea of it's really cool because if you're trying to be like super low key and you don't want to leave like a hyperspace signature, you just pop out the sails and ride on the solar waves, man. Nobody knows where you are.
Also, we got to see the bent lightsaber of Dooku.
Yeah.
We were like, that's a different take,
Yep.
you know?
He had the duelist saber, and it
Yeah.
was just, you could tell he knew what he was doing, and he was just like a gentleman because he had that curved lightsaber, you know?
Oh, it was freaking awesome.
So
Geonosis was your favorite. I thought C-3PO was a little bit too annoying in this one.
They
than
went
normal.
overkill on 3PO.
Yeah, some of his one-liners were kind of stupid. It's like, I don't know. He got his head knocked off and was put on the. He's like, die, Jedi, die. Oh my goodness, what did I say?
Yeah, everything in the droid factory, it was a little much. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, you know what? I never even really thought about that. I wonder if it's just because like throughout the whole movie we didn't really have that one solid like comedic element, and so he's like, George is like, I'm making it all back right now, from the droid factory to the end of Geonosis.
Those scenes were definitely, those are like, that's like kid friendly humor,
Yeah,
you know. So maybe after freaking Jango Fett got his head cut off, we need to go back to C-3PO where he's like,
I'm
"This is
beside
so-
myself.
Yeah, this is such a drag.
There is something about that, yeah, that just like it kind of pulls it out. You like all these Jedi are dying, there's lasers flying everywhere, and then just 3PO like ha 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 ha.
One of the big controversies of this film was R2D2, the ability to fly. We've never seen that before, and a lot of people were like, "That's shortcut." But
Wow.
you know,
You think 3PO is more annoying than Jar Jar?
I thought 3PO was great in Empire Strikes Back. His comedic
Yeah.
presence was very good. I actually thought he was kind of funny in the Force Awakens.
I don't
He's
even
like,
remember.
"Oh, Commander Solo, you might be wondering why I got a red arm." And he's
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to talk to Leia.
I do remember that. He's like, shut up.
I thought 3PO was terrible in The Rise of Skywalker because it was stupid.
I blocked a lot of it out. I'm going to be honest with you. We
Yeah.
do have a question from the chat.
I'm always drunk. You just don't know it.
See? That's how you got to do it. We see him fly again in Revenge of the Sith. We do.
Yeah, so R2D2 only flew in 2 movies. He didn't fly in the prequels and didn't fly in the originals, which that's where it's like, well, when he was on Dagobah, why didn't he just fly? You know, like why did he have to go through the mud with the little thing, you know, when they crashed and Luke swam across the swamp?
'Cause he ran out of jet fuel.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but you know what I mean. But that's those were the little things that were like, oh, they fly now. He flies now, like 3PO, like that's cheating.
No.
So
No.
So that was
Don't bring that evil into my beautiful, nostalgic.
I'm just
happy
saying,
stream.
like that
you
was
know what I mean?
that was one of the controversies that people were kind of like. I know my group was a little aggravated with because R2D2 is like the most loved droid of all time,
Right.
you know, and it's like, you didn't have to do that to him. Like, you'd have to make him a little more OP than normal, because he's always been that sarcastic droid, probably
Danny
cussing out
DeVito.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little.
Cussing them out and everything like that.
That's so weird, man. It was something that I never picked up on when I was a kid. Was like, oh, R2's too OP. I was like, well, this is why Anakin keeps this droid around. Like, he can handle his own. You know what I mean? And then you see Obi-Wan's droid who just dies, like immediately gets his head ripped off in Revenge of the Sith.
R4.
Yeah. Poor little bugger.
No love lost there. He was in 2, flying a little ship, and then the next one, the buzz droids rip his head off, and you can hear him go, "Woo!" Like, well, that sucks. That sucks. I guess, like, again, like the cringy dialogue. A lot of times, people just were like, "Ugh, that was rough." The sand line gets memed to death even to this day amongst the Star Wars community, which I think is great.
But there's so much with that comment, right? So maybe this is like a big retroactive thing, but I've always looked at that line as like, this actually makes a lot of sense. You know, I'm in George's head and I'm like, you got a guy who hates sand. Sand means, you know, slavery and oppression and poverty and all these different horrible things. And to Padme, you know, this sand is luxury and vacations and happiness with their family. So the line totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, but I think he was like flirting. Like, you're smooth and sand is not. You know? He's like rubbing her.
Basic, dude.
That's exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the whole relationship talk was like so weird. You know?
I think Anakin was on like Max Riz level when he said that.
Dude, listen. Padme comes home, right? She's not the queen anymore. She's a senator. And Anakin gets a little power because they go, Master Jedi, what do you want to do? And Padme just slaps him in the face. He ain't no master. She's like, that ain't it. He ain't it. He's just a little guy, right? And there
was some emasculation
and then he tries to chime in like, excuse me. And she goes, excuse me. Right. And he's like, all right. Yeah, you're right. So
that I physically felt awkward in that scene. Watching that. I'm like,
that was the whole point.
Shit.
And it was also too where he got friend zone, where he first sees and he goes, "You always be that little boy on Tatooine."
Oh, dude, she knew how to sting right to the core. Oh
yeah.
Maybe that's why we were all crazy about her. Like, dude, she knows how to hurt us so good. Like, we will make her ours.
It was every hot girl that we knew in high school that rejected.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious.
How that was.
All right, I put it up. I put it up for a poll. I'm interested to see what people have to say here.
Yeah, but hey, man, the guy kept shooting his shot.
He never quit.
Nah, and so fellas, learn a lesson: feed a woman a pear. And
with the Force.
I think that's all. But
not
then,
forcefully, but with the.
But then he just got whiny with her. He was like, you know, I keep thinking about the kiss, you know, and that's like. So
he did. He kind of like got her in close and then just trauma dumped like hardcore. It's like the worst thing you can do ever.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm seeing a 57% win on was I hate saying a bad line. People are saying no.
No, it's not bad anymore. It kind of was at first because we could laugh at it, but then it's like I would never want it to be taken out of the film at all.
Taken out, man.
But again, like these were the things that
what truth?
I don't know what she's saying. These were the things that where we saw Anakin get his first assignment. You know, and even Banaka was like,
who?
You know, Banaka.
Who?
He's like, I'm more nervous of what she would do than he.
Captain Fresh Breath.
So all that stuff was like, it was kind of funny. Well, the opening scene was her decoy getting
her body double getting blowed up. Yeah.
And you know,
the Nubian cruiser was so dope too. It was like a big B-52 bomber, and the N1s coming into Coruscant with the fog. Oh, shit was so tight.
It was pretty good. But see, like those were the scenes that I wish George had a little help in recording. Because it just seemed like he didn't know how to direct it well. And when you hear people that were working on the set, they would never trash it, but you have to understand these are actors for like almost their first time in their career. Plus you've got Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
In the most like, how do you prepare someone to play Anakin Skywalker when the world is waiting for Anakin? Every one of us has a different picture of what he's supposed to be from our, you know, how we receive. So the pressure on him was like, I felt sorry for him, you know, because no matter what he did, he was going to get criticized.
And there truly was no source material. We didn't know what young Anakin was like, you know?
And so, and then on top of it, you've got actors who they were saying, we filmed a lot of that movie in a giant blue box. Like, we didn't know what was next to us. We didn't know what was in front of us. We didn't know like if there was people behind us. We didn't know this. We didn't know that. Everything was there. Even like the walls were just like these blue boxes.
Yeah, it's just boxes.
You know, so it's like you didn't even know what it looked like. So I give them so much credit now that they were able, because now actors are used to it. Like that's kind of a thing. This was all new, kind of new technology, and didn't know how do you act when it's like you're not really told like, hey, there's a monster here, there's a bowl here, there's it's kind of like, all right, you know, you don't know what your surroundings are, you're just doing the lines. And so like the girl that just like randomly cried when she was leaving, like her handmaid or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that was just kind of like, you could film that better because she's like, okay, Senator. You're just like, what? Why? You know what I mean?
Clip that, please.
But you know what I mean? So it was kind of like that.
Well, dude, I don't think anybody who's a Star Wars fan will look at George Lucas's works and say like he's a perfect director. He's like the most perfect filmmaker ever. But what he did, we love to the point that it's perfection.
What was your favorite Star Wars movie?
My favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
It rotates almost weekly.
What is it today?
Probably Return of the Jedi.
Who directed that?
George
Not
Lucas.
George.
Oh, shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. When it comes to writing a story, he's not perfect.
No, I had no problem. I just wish he had help on certain scenes. Like a lot of people didn't know this, but in episode 3, all the major lightsaber duels were directed by Steven Spielberg. But Steven Spielberg's name couldn't be on the list because Lucas wasn't part of the Actors Guild. Yeah. And the only reason you knew that if you watched the bonus features on the DVD, where George was like, "Yeah, I'm bringing in a friend to do, you know, Anakin and Obi-Wan," and I'm like, "Holy crap! Like it's Steven Spielberg." You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's wild. And so I just wish he had some help. And on some of the more like his mother dying was a little like, I love, you know what I mean?
See, clipping the shit out of this, man. I need to see those two side by side. I don't know. Shit,
you know what I mean? No,
yeah,
it's like,
I totally
and then she just
saying.
like, and then the music hits, and it's like John Williams saved that whole scene because then young Anakin had the growl, and I'm like, oh, here it comes.
There's that beautiful It almost sounds like I can't remember the name of the piece right now. The something bumblebees. Everything starts to trill and build up, and you can feel like the anger welling up, and then all of a sudden, he turns around and just starts cutting people's heads off.
I haven't said not true, Jay. Spielberg only gave direction in one part of the Mustafar duel, and that was then maybe that's what it is.
You know,
I watched it a long time ago.
They had like 15 minutes for the Mace Windu Palpatine one. They didn't get to rehearse any of that stuff.
I saw that too, and also the saddest part of that was the stunt double that was like, well, we've been working on this scene, and George decided he didn't want it anymore. He wanted more close-ups of the Mace. That's in the next installment when we talk about episode 3. Shut up, Jay. Yeah, no, I'm not going to shut up. His mom did terrible. Shmi did terrible in that particular scene. I'm sorry.
You're canceled.
Yeah.
I thought she did good, but yeah, it was I get what
I just was like, oh,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But how old were you when Attack of the Clones came out?
Oh, I mean, I was in college, man.
Yeah, totally. You're a cynic. 100%.
I'm just saying though, it's like that could have been done better.
What would you have them do?
I think he could have like rescued her alive, and then she just never recover from her wounds.
So like bring her back to the Lars homestead, and then she dies there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they try to save, and he just was like, then he has his scene where it's like, I can't. I have all this power, and I can't save her. And they're rushing, getting her water, and trying to bandage her wounds, and all this stuff like that. And he's like, I can't freaking save her. And
just use Force Heal, bro.
Yeah, now. So
how would he go back and slay the Tuscans though? He's like, hold on, she left her purse back there. I'll be right back. And then we get another him riding across the sunset.
Yeah, I don't think he needed her to die to be angry and kill the Tuscans. He just see his mom like she was being whipped or tortured. You know?
And then he's like, Mom, I'm gonna be right back. And then we're gonna get out of here.
He could have just been tied up to a pole, you know, like Boba Fett was in Book of Boba Fett. And, you know, seeing all that, and he could have been like, what did you do to my mom? And then they turn around and come after him. And
what if she said that? She's all,
I would have had his mom
she's
tell
all,
him to murder them all.
Annie,
Nah.
murder them all. And then just dies. It's terrible. It's horrible. I kind of like it though. Maybe we'll get a fan edit.
I love Jay, but he's a diva. Holy crap. You don't know me that well, OG. Man, your chat is ruthless against me, man.
Man, no joke. They don't like your takes on Attack of the Clones, man.
I don't care. They're my takes.
Again, this seems to be the most controversial prequel movie that there is. There are people who really don't like parts of this and then can move back to the Phantom Menace and be totally stoked, and go to Revenge of the Sith and be totally stoked. But this one seems to have the most, and like you said earlier, these are just nitpicks, but it seems to definitely have the most nitpicks.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, what?
Because we're right about our nitpickery.
Honestly, dude, if it's a nitpick,
prequels are my favorite Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, we know.
They always have been. And I loved it. So, I mean, I freaking watched that movie like 8 times in the theater. So it's not like I went leaving going, oh my God, it's awful. Never. And then when I make like, you know, little nitpicky, it's because I've watched the movie like 8 million times and I could pick out little things. I know all the lines, you know, we're quoting all the lines now.
Yeah.
So, you know, also the interesting thing about going back to like Jedi business was how we live in it's really interesting. We live in a time with Star Wars now where people have one lightsaber and they never lose it. And those are the lightsabers you buy in the store. Those are the lightsabers, you know, all that stuff.
You can bury them in the sand.
But I mean, Anakin went through what, like 6 lightsabers in that film? Yeah. And he just was like, I'm not attached to any one of them. Like, whatever.
To the point where he's literally like, Obi-Wan's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Like, this has happened
Like,
before.
there's another one.
Yeah.
He had a green one. He had a blue one. You know, he would have picked up any color. So, and that was, you know, we're bleeding over to the next film, but it's just, you know, to see him still have the blue saber when he was Vader. You know, he didn't get the crimson one yet. It was kind of cool. So,
The Youngling Slayer 9000
with the blue saber.
She rests behind me.
With the blue saber that Luke had.
That
Killed
thing's
all
like the
those
holy
kids.
grail, dude, for Star Wars. Like, that saber is the holy grail of Star Wars. The Youngling Slayer 9000.
My favorite.
Ugh,
I have 2 of them.
they're
yeah.
it's quintessential Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing. I mean, we've talked so much about nitpicks for this movie and small things that we can find that we wish had been changed. That's the sign of a good movie. If you're looking for things to be irritated about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the Master Replicas.
Yeah.
2005, right?
Yeah.
It says that on the bottom by the speaker. 2005.
I have since upgraded to the Ultra Sabers, where I could just beat them up against anybody and not.
Nice. Good stuff. Is it one of the NeoPixel ones where it lights up sequentially through the blade?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
I might need to be charged, but yeah, it's over here.
I gotta find you. I might order another one. I found a $34 all metal RGB Qui-Gon Jinn hilt for $34 in China. It's gonna show up in a couple days. I'm gonna be interested to see how that comes out.
Yeah, this is a battle ready lightsaber. It has every single color.
That's an Ultra Saber, right?
Yeah.
I need to hook you up with an actual saber. You've been so misguided, bro.
I know. Well, I was when I was at the Comic Cons with Gina last year, Saber was there. The Sabers were there.
Yeah.
And they just kept giving it to her. They're like, "Can you hold this for a picture?" And she's like, "What do I do?" I was like, "Hold it for a picture, but we keep it. I keep it." So she did. So I've got like 3 of them over there.
Are you kidding me? They're still not good though. I need to get.
I know. They're not the best, but
You need a Profi NeoPixel with the sound fonts on it and the smooth swing. Like, you pick that thing up and you light it up once and you're just
All
like
right, man.
enamored.
Christmas
They're
is
beautiful.
I'll be waiting for it for Christmas.
I have one I can send you.
I don't want yours. I want a new one.
I have one. I have 9.
Okay,
Get rid of one.
I'll take one.
Deeds MN for $9.99. Hey guys, hope you have a good weekend. I hope you have a good weekend too. Look at that. Freaking, is that a Scotty with Chewbacca eyes? Killer dog, man. Killer dog. I'm not playing any videos or anything this time because I don't want to be taken down. I'm trying to really play it smooth. Okay, so we've been going for 52 minutes. Let's get some closing arguments, and then some.
Last time we were 3 hours. How could you wrap this up in 50? How could you wrap up one of the greatest Star Wars films of all time?
You want to go 3?
I mean, I think there's more to talk about.
Okay, let's keep going. I'm ready.
Let's go. All right, let's we'll go through, like, there's the cast of characters that we got introduced to for the first time. First thoughts of Count Dooku. Now, for me and my crew, our first thoughts were, man, I wish Darth Maul was still alive and not Count Dooku. It wasn't until the 3rd movie that I understood, you know, why it was Count Dooku, you know, and how he could transfer Dooku to Anakin, you know, the Emperor.
See, that's the tough part about this movie, though, is like so much of it was brought into more context by other stuff that we've seen, like through the Clone Wars, through other there's so much other stuff that richened Attack of the Clones to the point where now it's like God tier movie, you know what I mean? Because there's so much else that goes into it. You get all the stories of the clones, Captain Rex, everything that goes along there, everything that happens with Count Dooku. So it's tough to talk about it in the time frame of 2002, right?
So who went and got the clones started? GJJ is a freaking awesome.
What's up, GJJ? How you doing, buddy? Thank you for the
awesome dude.
Thank you for the $10 super chat. And are you a member as well? You are a member as well. When did you join? Might have hopped in the other day. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Nah, OG's just still getting on my case. Whatever.
Met Gina in Dallas for Fan Expo. She was amazing, but you were still a diva.
No problem. But
You'll
I
be
was
okay.
with her.
You'll be okay, Jay.
Yeah. How am I gonna sleep at night? It's okay. You can say whatever you want, OG. Nothing but love. The first. So your thoughts on Dooku when you first saw him? Too old to be a Sith, or
No, man, because like, I mean, that's like saying Yoda's too old. You know what I mean? There's always been this kind of idea in my mind that there would be a distinguished swordsman in Star Wars, somebody who was gnarlier than anybody else. And I think Dooku kind of always filled that role because my father was a fencer. He was an Olympic fencer, and Dooku's style was always very much like a fencing
very
style.
elegant.
Yeah, very. He was a duelist, and my dad, growing up, he would always tell me about swordsmanship and like the honor of the duel between, you fight for your honor and you kill and you die, and that was something that Dooku really stuck with me, just because it was like this noble Jedi. We'd never really seen a Jedi who was like a European noble, if that makes sense. So
That's
I thought he was awesome.
I thought it was awesome too, because it just proved this whole, even though we're Sith, even though we're Jedi, we fight with class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not cheating, I'm not throwing dirt in your eye, I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's like, okay, we got swords, we're gonna fight with class, away from all this nonsense. And that's the real fight. The clones and the clone army and the droids, that's filler for what we're trying to accomplish here. Who did you think Master Cypher Diaz was?
Who did I think he was?
Like when you first heard it, did that even come into?
I have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea until you find out.
It was Dooku.
Yeah, which we learn much later, but that's in. Again, if you're watching it at the time, you're like, who the hell is Sifo Dyas?
Which showed how cool everything was. Like, and then, because again, it's just like all this stuff being put into play where Obi-Wan shows up at the Caminos and he's just like, they're like, oh, we didn't think you were coming. And he's like, well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
He played it so cool.
Valientes for 10. Awesome
Ivan.
streams. The prequels.
That's my friend Ivy. Yeah.
Ivan Valientes, though, right? I didn't say that wrong. Yeah, Valientes.
No,
He's
didn't.
always in here. Awesome streams. The prequels, along with the originals, was my teenage years and 20s. These movies directed me to other things that developed me for the better. Absolutely. I agree. It got me into martial arts, and I've made countless videos. I think the most important one was We've Forgotten What Star Wars Is, when we went through like the reasons why every Star Wars movie was important and why every little thing taught you a little bit about life. And there were lessons you could draw from in every single movie. So, yeah, Ivan, agreed.
What was your lessons from Attack of the Clones?
Dude, it was the folly of youth. It was to not be prideful and stubborn and arrogant, because no matter like when you're young, no matter how invincible you think you are, or no matter how much you really believe in your conviction that you're right, generally the people who've been through it before you are actually right. That was just kind of, and then there was obviously the overarching theme of being thrust into war at like way too young of an age.
That too, and you also kind of did Obi-Wan fail Anakin?
Yes. Obi-Wan failed Anakin.
And that was probably Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan? Because the third movie, they weren't even really together till, the opening scene. I mean, and then that's it. That's it. They're separated the whole movie.
That's a whole ass stream, but that is such a good question. Like, did Obi-Wan fail Anakin? And my answer is a resounding yes, and it always has been.
Well, it had to be an Attack of the Clones, and just, not, maybe he was just too arrogant.
I think it was more,
or he put too much pressure on him.
Yeah, it's like, it's a parenting question, really, is what it comes down to, because, you may have 3 kids, you can't raise each one the same way.
Here's the thing. Like you said, Anakin, Jedi usually steal. I hate to use that word. They take the the children when they were, so they have no connection to their parents.
Right.
Anakin does not. He knows his mom is a slave, and he has nightmares that she's being murdered and tortured. Where Obi-Wan is like, they're gonna pass in time. Stop thinking about her.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not good. Like, maybe you should have handled that a little differently.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, and that's why you saw the Jedi like, they're too old. Like, he's too old. Like, there's too much emotion. You know, we didn't have him as a baby, so we can't really
groomers, man.
Yeah, Jedi. That's just how they always did it.
We got another 10 from GJJ. Why was Dooku a Count and not a Darth? I never understood that. He was Darth Tyrannus.
Yeah, he was Darth Tyrannus.
But he wanted to keep his name the Count of Sereno. He had a lot of pride when it came to his family and his planet and his noble name. He was like Italian. I always just think of like Italians. He just seemed like very, I don't know. He seemed Italian. I'm the Duke of Sereno, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nobody ever called him that.
No.
They just called him Dooku.
Paul Blunt for $2.79 Canadian.
You need to
Dooku
get
looked
that.
like a man with
Hold
a
on. He
golden
needs to
gun.
get that looked at. Some
think
puffiness on his eyes.
I think you might have COVID. I don't know what that is. White to front to back, I guess. I don't know. Star Wars Dog for 2 says, best part is Padme's outfit on Geonosis.
For a young lad, yeah.
Can't disagree.
Yeah.
Can't disagree.
That was Natalie Portman, man. She will always be my queen.
I still love her. And then
Yeah.
she did this Saturday Night Live when she was dressed up like Padme.
Oh
again.
man, and she like did that rap
She's like,
video.
Say
I was
something
dying.
about the motherfucking Pringles, bitch. I'm like,
They had
yeah.
that little kid like, "Could I get your autograph?"
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
There was some
She went
justice there.
through, she also went through some Star Wars issues where
Did
she
she?
felt. Oh yeah, she's had some interviews where she was like, "Star Wars almost messed up my career." It almost did that. Yeah, she came out and spoke out, not so much negatively about George or anything else, but just as Star Wars as a whole. And it is, I don't know if it's a Star Wars curse or I don't know what it is, but when you're in once you're in Star Wars, if you can't break out of that,
oh, you're done.
Then you're stuck forever.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill, he really didn't break out of it till he became the voice of the Joker, but that was voice acting. Never really had a major role after that. But Harrison Ford was very lucky because in the middle of Star Wars, he was also Indiana Jones, which is a different character, but he was able to do different things. But a lot of the others, not so much. Not so much. And so even Natalie Portman's career, she had to do. She did V for Vendetta, I think. After that, and she did
such a good movie, man.
She did Black Swan, which was like this dark.
I never saw that.
Crazy thing, and then like that was after that. She kind of, she was able to like kind of do her own thing. I liked her in Thor. Hated what they did with her in Thor: Love and Thunder. So,
Maddie Childs, my unofficial little brother. The Tournament of the Thumb on the OG channel. I cut my brother's thumb off with a long sword when we were sparring.
Yeah.
Still remember getting taught with foam Nerf swords in the backyard. Pretty sure he snapped a couple of my fingers. Well, you learned how to block. King's Advisors for $20. Hail X-Wing and Jay, love the streams. So glad to hear more positivity on Star Wars, more content about the good about it rather than the bad. Now, I love ranting about some of the crap we get now, but we can't forget the good. Yeah, I agree, man. This is just these are little come back to the farm moments where I like to remember the reason why I'm doing any of this stuff. This is just for some smiles and some laughs.
You have a favorite character from Attack of the Clones?
God, it's rough out there right now.
You have a favorite character?
Dude, Kit Fisto is pretty badass.
Those were that's the one thing that movie left me with was like, who are these people and how do I find out more about them?
Yeah.
Kit Fisto was like the laughing Jedi.
He's like a laughing Rasta Jedi squid.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell is that thing?
And then you watch like they drop the cartoon You know,
Yeah.
the Attack of the Clone, the
Yeah,
right
and they're all
before.
fighting in like Mon Calamari underwater with lightsabers and
I
stuff.
love that freaking cartoon, man.
Yeah,
It was so good because then it kind of told the story of why Grievous coughed, you know, and all
Yep.
that stuff like that.
That's one thing that should have made it out of that and into like general Star Wars was Dirge. Like Dirge was so gnarly. He reminded me of like the thing from Halo, the Hunters, where it's like made up of 1,000 worms and you just can't kill the damn thing. Like, what a great thing for somebody with a lightsaber that can cut through anything to fight. Perfect.
People were saying Dexter is their favorite character. I love Dex. Perfect. I like the whole diner scene. Some people didn't like it. They thought it was kind of cringy because of the dialogue, but I thought it was great. The guy Dex who hears all the information from all the travelers that come to and fro from Coruscant, has all the information, you know. Maybe the dialogue
like an old mafia guy.
Maybe the dialogue could have been a little better, you know. But it is what it is. Let's see. That boy Steve says Jango Fett. Jango Fett was. I was a little surprised they killed him off in this film. I thought maybe he would make it to the third one because we would have like the last big battle, but there really wasn't a last big battle. It was just Order 66, and we win.
Yeah,
and we'll just turn off the droids.
You did it.
Like that's it. They're like, I could turn off the droids and just kill the Jedi. We win. I got the votes. And so there wasn't really so Geonosis was kind of like the last big time battle with the the clones and the droid army.
I would have liked to have seen more clone battles in live action.
We got introduced to the Geonosis, the bug creatures that helped design the Death Star. Yeah, thoughts on that?
What a badass language that was. I don't know. There was something about that was so believable in my little young brain. I'm just like, this makes sense. These little bastards are scary. Like when they're going through the tunnel and you see the walls start moving.
Luke Skywalker in the chat.
I left that up. My bad.
It's okay.
What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. This is one of the most solid dudes in the world, by the way. So if you get the chance, follow this guy on Twitter. He does nothing but post positive stuff every day to just try to brighten your day. That's it. That's amazing.
Look at all the love in super chats. What's up, Daisy? Another amazing person, Daisy. I got to meet her in Vegas. Unbelievable, shining light for this fellowship.
I really hope I get to get down there to meet all of these beautiful people.
Yeah, Daisy was Daisy and her son were a joy.
Daisy for $30. Thank you so much. Thank you both for these streams. It's so wonderful to discuss what we love about Star Wars. May the Force be with you. It truly is, man.
Yeah, see, you wanted to end it early.
It truly is, though. It's special, man, because it's a different type of positivity talk. That's what I'll say.
Ended it early.
What do you want me to say? You were right.
The first time when we saw Count Dooku sitting around the table making the deals, had the banking clan. I like the guy in the robot suit. He was like
Techno Union.
Yeah, he was like, he had a little glitch in his matrix there. He's like,
yeah, it was the first time that we got to see. I think that was the first time we ever got to see the Mune on screen, which is cool because we knew that was, that's Darth Plagueis's.
I know,
species.
that's his people.
Yeah, so that was cool. We got to see the Techno Union. I don't remember. You remember I can't remember the name of the crab guy. He's like the guy from Monsters Inc. He's the furry crab spider.
Yes.
I don't remember his freaking name.
Yes,
it's gonna drive me nuts. I don't remember if he was at that table or not. And then obviously the Newt Gunray. What the heck is the Nemoidians?
Newt Gunray, man. What an ending for him. But
wait.
That's
next episode.
he was always around these board meetings, and he ended groveling. His life ended in groveling. It started with Newt Gunray taking over Naboo, and it ended with him groveling to Anakin, and Anakin just like a flick, just ended his life in a flick.
I love this. The techno
that's so
union.
cool. Yeah, he's like, he was like adjusting the volume real quick. Like, let me get that.
Couldn't get the AM frequency quite right.
But see, that was the thing too, George. In his creation, he created creatures and things where he could push I guess he could push violence in his films, and have it not be so, like, have it not be gory.
Right.
You know, so it's like you got the Gungans fighting the droid army. You shoot a droid, they blow up. No one's really dead, you know, and then a couple people die. So he kept his movies that way. Even the Geonosis, you looked at them like they were mosquitoes.
They're bugs. Yeah, it was
yeah,
like
and
Starship
you were just like hacking through the bugs. And you know, that scene where Anakin and Padme are going through the, you know, that was like, you could take that from years worth of films, going through the conveyor belt scene where you had to wait.
Yeah.
There's always like some conveyor belt scene in some of these old films that people ran through. Bond, I think, had one, and it's just like a conveyor belt scene. So it was kind of neat to put that in. I thought for sure he's like, well, that's definitely made for a video game. We threw that scene in for a video game. And then again, Anakin wrecks his lightsaber in the conveyor belt scene. So, you know, but I thought it was, I love that, because in the first movie, Anakin's power was through pod racing. This one, he was pretty dominant for his age, you know, and he held it with Dooku for a minute, man.
Chosen one, bro.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like but it also showed his arrogance, where he's like, Obi-Wan's like, okay, you know, he's like, if we take him together, no, I'm taking him now. So
Anakin, no.
So then he just gets shocked and pushed away, and you know, then Obi-Wan's like, okay, I don't think so.
That was it. That was the folly of youth for me. That was the moment in the movie where we got the lesson. I wanted to pop this in really quick because it's not showing up on normal chat. Georgie Girl, member for 1 month. I don't want this series to end. Love diving into the stories that take us to a galaxy.
Oh, see, I knew this was my idea, everyone. Just so you know.
It was his idea.
X-Wing was like, nobody cares. I was like, no, man, we could talk about every little thing. All right, you're big into ships and the different ships in the film. This was also, you know, when the toys broke out, it was like Clone War ships. I don't even remember half their names, but they had every accessory known to mankind. And even in the video games, they had those crab walking ships. They had, you know, the ships that ported, I guess they just transported all the clones to one place to the next. They had these special guns that were like these big ball like things that were it was so cool, man.
Yeah. It was again something that, like, you know, you get guys in the model department who have been building models their entire lives, been watching old World War II movies, who are intimately familiar with stuff from the original trilogy, that were able to create some of the most badass vehicles I've ever seen in any sci-fi anything ever. Because the amount of ingenuity that went into the original trilogy, they came back and they did it again in the prequel trilogy, and they just stepped it up. I mean, the kit bashing was absolutely amazing. The LAAT is still, I think, to this day, probably my favorite. I think it might be my favorite thing ever. That's that clone gunship with the ball turrets.
Yes.
It's just so sick, dude. And the noise that they make when they come out of the arena and they turn, and it's just wah, wah, and it just sounds like, you know, bikes ripping around the corner, like, let's go get them, like,
so
fuck yeah,
cool. Dude, I even love Dooku's motorcycle speeder, and he's just like doing his thing, and then when he sees danger, he waves off. He's like, all right, you go.
Oh, so much iconic shit that happened in just such a short amount of time in that movie.
I loved the assassin, the shapeshifter, the assassin's ship, that sound that it made. It was like, ooh. like the way it was going through Coruscant.
Zam Wessel.
I thought that was, and we never got to see another shapeshifter after that.
No, we didn't, and I actually don't remember the name of the species, and I feel kind of bad about that. But
no. And
I had her ship too. I had the green, like Corvette looking.
It just
weird.
made the coolest sound, like woo, when it was going. Oh, I loved it. And Anakin, and it was just, it was like the first. Honestly,
it was an electric guitar.
Qui-Gon was cool. I loved it. He's one of the best. It just seemed like in episode 2 we got to see like Jedi doing Jedi stuff all the time. Like they're in Coruscant. Obi-Wan Anakin's like, all right, I'll get him. Just jumps out of the car and floats.
I don't think that was Jedi. I think that was just Anakin stuff.
It was cool, man. I loved it. He's just floating through Coruscant. He's like, I hate when he does that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, this was so cool. And then you could see the fun Anakin when he was had Obi-Wan in the car and he's laughing. And remind him of his pod racing days, trying to catch
I had to pick the right
guy.
speeder, the right speed capabilities, the right color.
So cool. He lost his lightsaber there as well.
He caught it. Obi-Wan caught it.
Obi-Wan caught it and then gave him a little lesson. He's like, hey, Buckaroo, before we go in there.
Claudites. That's what they were called.
Is.
Yeah. Way to go, Gray.
He was like, this is your life. But see, again, this whole film, you had parts of Anakin where Obi-Wan is like, if you practice your sword fighting as much as you would rival Mace. He goes, I thought I already did.
That was kind of a dick.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he was so arrogant. So maybe his arm getting cut off was a good thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like humbled him a little bit, where it's like, you better get this thing right. You need to get this thing right.
Yeah. And something I really wish they would have put in the movie that would have been super cool to see was something that comes into Revenge of the Sith that would have tied in so awesome, is that Anakin was totally obsessed with the duel that Obi-Wan had with Darth Maul. Completely obsessed. And so like a scene where we had a hologram of Anakin trying to jump over Darth Maul, jump over him, redo what he did, would have been just like such perfect foreshadowing, because we have no idea know what happens in the end. But to go back to that moment, I think that would have been cool. Something cool to add.
I mean, were you ready to see Mace Windu do his thing?
Oh yeah.
And only Samuel L. Jackson could enter into Geonosis the way he did.
He's got the only superhero landing in all of Star Wars.
But dude, like you look back, and he had the lightsaber at Dooku's neck, and it was like, I could end this, but he's still a Jedi. He's still the gentleman.
There's such a good book on that, Shatterpoint. That was like his ability was to see those moments, those shatter points, and like he lived with that right up until the bloody end. Was like, I could have ended all this, all the bloodshed, everything, if I'd have just flickered the wrist.
Yep, he could have walked up behind him and just
Yeah.
And dude, I was like, so I'm glad. And this is another thing, George gave us Jango versus Mace, which I thought was great. And Mace took out one of the big beasts. No, he didn't. Jango did. Jango shot the beast in the heart.
Yeah.
And then they gave us Jango and Mace, and it was
with
just
his Westars, one of the greatest sounding blasters in all of frickin' Star Wars. Those things sound
and Mace
so
is like,
cool.
and then does the spin move and doesn't even look, knows he cut the guy's head off.
And then does the
it was so good, man. It was so good.
Yeah.
I loved it. And it had everything. And of course had R2-D2 saving his friend C-3PO in the middle of the fight, like he does so many times. It had everything. I don't know, man. Like, you're right. Now, the more I talk about it, the more I like really start to love Attack of the Clones even more.
Movie, man. There's just so much going on. It's ridiculous. He packs so much into that movie, and like, the one before it and the one after it, there's definitely very clear and concise themes. But
what was happening in the Senate during this time?
This was a immediate vote for powers, emergency powers.
So he was the Chancellor Palpatine at that point, right?
Yeah, they had to give him immediate emergency powers.
Right, so he could get the clone army to stop. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's where we were. And everybody thunderous applause.
This is how liberty dies.
Thunderous applause. Who else did we have in this? Banaka was in there for a few moments. I mean, we went back to Naboo, went to Tatooine again, discovered Geonosis, got to see Dooku. Dooku's ship was awesome. The shapeshifter, oh man, what was that with like the assassination of Pat? They really wanted her dead.
Yeah, but people keep passing off the freaking job. It was like Tyrannus didn't want to do it, so he passed it off to Django. Django didn't want to do it, so he passed it off to the Zam Wessel. Zam Wessel didn't want to do it, so she passed it off to the slugs.
Yeah, so we got to see the assassin slugs, and Anakin took care of that real quick and just busted out of a window.
Yeah.
To get that, we got to see Death Sticks. We got to see the underbelly of Coruscant.
Apparently, that Death Sticks guy is like a really terrible story. Like what happens after that when he goes home and rethinks his life. Like his story is apparently horrible and extremely depressing. I haven't done the research on it, but maybe I should do that and make a video.
I don't know anything about that. You mean like the fictional character?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not saying he like left the yard at Lucasfilm and went like
because he couldn't go back and make money anymore because he's got to rethink his life. And he's like, man, I made all this money selling drugs. Now what am I going to do? Well, you got to work at Walmart, kid. I hate it here.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Wait, what? Where was Owen? Are you thinking Revenge of the Sith? Where was Owen in Attack of the Clones?
Are you kidding me? Owen and Amperu, they were on Tatooine.
Oh, I'm being an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, when he goes to save his mom.
Yeah, he's like, it's my girlfriend.
Dude, this is how my brain works sometimes. I compartmentalize these things so much that sometimes the movies kind of bleed together and I can't seem to remember.
Same. That's why I break it up. The Schmeed's husband, the guy was like missing a foot.
Yeah.
And that conversation was kind of funny because he's like, I haven't been back out there since I injured my foot. And then they're like, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to find my mother. Forget it. She's dead.
I can't ride anymore. My foot's gone. Like, you don't even have to put it on the pedal.
It was like you were just trying to explain to her son, like, I'll go back out there once my foot's better. But then when he goes, he's like, forget it. She's not alive. She's dead. It was like, boy, that conversation took a quick turn, man. Like, what the heck? Oh, dude, he brings his mom back all bandaged up, like in mummy form.
Dude, the mummy wrap. Yeah, that was kind of rough.
That was
Yes, I know.
That's why we do these, so he remembers. He can remember some of the cool. Remember some of the cool stuff. Watto looked pretty bad. That's the last time we saw him
with his Shield Maiden hat.
Surrounded by flies, had no money.
It didn't look so good. Get that big 5 o'clock shadow going on.
It looked terrible. He was like, hey, maybe you can help me get some money. And Anakin's like, no.
You for real?
He's like, oh, okay, I'll be right back.
I just looked up Destix guy and Wikipedia says he had a happy life ever after.
People are ripping Wikipedia up. They're like, because they gave like Yoda pronouns and stuff. It's like, dude, he's not.
It's so ridiculous at this point. I don't even know what to do. Like I said, I was cast from the Alabaster Halls, but it's good to see.
Okay,
clearly.
That's why we're here, man. That's why we're here. You know,
sometimes it's necessary.
Obi-Wan had like his hair was like extra moosed in that whole film too, man. It was,
dude. He had the mega mullet.
Yeah,
in Attack of the Clones, he had the mega mullet.
That was pretty wild.
The most iconic Obi-Wan look.
And then, like, so we go from, they go back to Naboo. Anakin's riding those creatures.
Oh, the giant tick-looking things.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they're called. It's like orbs or. Shame
They were
on
like
me.
the
I usually know
cows.
these. Yeah, I usually know these. I can't remember.
And that's when it just, you had 5 different stories going on. You had Obi-Wan chasing Jango Fett. You had Anakin and Padme falling in love. You had
Yep.
Anakin wrestling with his mom, and finally he just was like, I'm gonna go see my mom. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I can't handle this anymore. Then you had Dooku doing his thing, getting people to sign a treaty.
Much going on, dude.
Yeah. You've got the Jedi finally taking over the clones to
Yeah, the
fight
clone
the droid
army being built.
But
The
dude,
Death Star in production.
the story is so cool. You have the Emperor and Dooku, the only 2 people that probably know the plan. All right, Dooku, you're going to run the droid army and you're going to fight me with the clone army. Just don't die. All right. You're going to get people to sign this treaty to be on your side because you're going to convince them that evil has taken over Coruscant. And we're just going to fight it out until we get to this point where I can just say, Order 66, you know?
The Jedi are taking over.
And that's it. He's like, once we do that, we'll kill off the Jedi, and then we'll take over the clones, and you can just come hang out with me, and we're good to go. We're done. We'll just take over all the planets.
It's
what a plan,
war,
man.
dude.
What a plan to rule the galaxy. You have 2 people on the same team create 2 wars to fight against each other. What a
While you're
freaking
playing the
master
other
plan.
side.
Yeah, and you're playing every side till where it's like, I have an army. And then you make out recruitment videos like we saw in Solo. Join the Empire. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh my
dun,
God!
dun, dun, dun.
Shut up. That shit drives me nuts. That's something else too that like it really pisses me off about the Palpatine and bringing him back in the sequels is like, you've got a guy who is literally the most meticulous planner in the world. Literally orchestrated a galaxy-wide war.
Yes.
And then he's just like, I'm gonna make clones and then die 5 minutes later. Like, fuck you. Get out of here.
Exactly. And it just showed how awesome the Palpatine character was.
Yeah.
That he manipulated the entire galaxy until he won. And then he had like galaxy stuff to deal with. He's like paperwork and
Vader,
all
go
that.
take care of the rest of this.
You know what I mean?
Gotta do some stuff.
It's like that. It's just so cool. And the rest of it was just build his army, and that freaking, like you said, that bullcrap in the Rise of Skywalker where it's like, well, what was that? What was his army called? The
Final Order.
The final. He's been building an army for all these years called the Final Order. Yeah.
Well, there was only the First Order, so why are you going to call it the Final Order? Just call it the Second Order, or it's literally the only other one. God damn, that pissed me off.
Yeah, it was bad.
I've been so happy all night. Let's not go there.
I know, but we were just saying like how cool the story was written. It's pretty awesome.
So Dooku never wanted to be a Sith Lord. That's not what he wanted. And they go over this in like detail in his books and they actually go over it in detail in the Revenge of the Sith novelization too, is that he wasn't really interested in being like the one true Sith. He wanted to get all of his war chests and all the money from the war, and he wanted to F off and just go live his life as like a glorious war hero that did his job, and then he's going to go be a noble in Sereno. That was it. That's all he wanted to do. So he wasn't really like a Sithy type dude. I think that's probably why he didn't go by Darth too. He just wanted to be Count Dooku. He revoked his ties with the Jedi, but I don't think he ever really fully embraced the Sith.
Well, I don't think he could embrace the Sith because he was trying to say that the Sith and all them were corrupted. That's why he was trying to get clans to sign, the treaty, saying basically he was trying to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he's trying to get people on his side so they could, because he's like, we've got a droid army, we could protect you. They're gonna try to take you guys over. They're gonna implement their rule on you. They're voting this guy like powers to run the galaxy, and we're gonna be like the rebellion against it. And so it's like, you can see and that's why they brought him there. He's like, you can see our factory. We're pumping out droids like no one's business. So, it's like it was perfect for him to stay Count Dooku during all of that and live a double life.
He was the perfect pawn, man. Easily manipulated by the thought of power. And also, I mean, dude, Sidious played him like a fiddle because Dooku he didn't believe in the Jedi Order anymore after what happened with Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I'm telling you, they're blind, they're dumb, they're stupid. And Sidious is like, I can show you a different way. And he's like, cool.
Well, Sidious just wanted power, man. Like that was he'd do anything to get it. He killed his master Plagueis. You also had Dooku, and these weren't in the movies, but this is how cool some of the extra stuff was. Dooku helped train General Grievous before Dooku died and trained him in the arts. Well, he actually said that in episode 3.
He says it.
Also, there's a character by the name of Ventress that I thought was glorious. Yeah, he also trained her.
She's queer rebellion.
Yeah, they ruined that. Ventress could have had. They could have easily, instead of doing a solo movie, they could have done a Ventress movie that took place right in the middle. You know what I mean? Because she fights Anakin, and
dude,
that's
the temple steps in the rain fighting Anakin. Oh,
isn't that how Anakin got the scar? Was Ventress, right?
Yep, that fight.
So it's like all that stuff could have been put, like, a bit of compliment. And that's what for me, that's what I've always wanted with Disney Star Wars. If they're gonna dangle into the time period of the 6 films, that it complements what we already have. For me, a lot of people liked or didn't like Rogue One, but Rogue One complemented the story. That's why I think it was popular. That's why a lot of people did enjoy for what it is. It didn't really mess up too many things. It was a compliment. So for them to like throw in a Ventress story, it could have been a 2-movie thing too, man. That would have been freaking sick.
Oh, it
right in the middle. You know what I mean? Like Plagueis was also a great. Plagueis was my favorite EU book of all time. After reading Plagueis, I went back and you watch the prequels. It complements it so well.
Dude, it makes Sidious seem way more sadistic.
Yeah,
when you watch it.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's freaking so good.
Yeah, Dooku does have a really good backstory. If I was going to urge anybody, if you're a fan of Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, read any of the Dooku books and the Revenge of the Sith novelization. And read freaking Plagueis.
The Plagueis abridged, which the voice actors, and even Revenge of the Sith is fantastic on audiobooks. I mean, it is fantastic. I could listen to them over, several times. They complement the movie so well that you won't go wrong.
It's like watching extra. It's like watching a whole extra movie. Yeah. They're so good, and they're written in a way that it makes sense. Like it sounds like
makes sense.
George
it doesn't
hurt
hurt
story.
anything. It adds to it in a beautiful way. I love it. I thought Darth Plagueis takes place in between almost all the way up to almost mid episode 3, because he kills Plagueis right before episode 3. Does he not? He doesn't kill Plagueis at the beginning of episode 1. The book doesn't take place. I think it bleeds into a few things. If
I remember correctly, and I could be mistaken,
because Darth Maul's in that film too, in that book.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, when he kills Plagueis, it's like just as Anakin is starting to come into the picture. Like he's watching him as he's a kid, starting to train.
So maybe episode 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Around that time.
You know what's funny? I don't remember the ending of that book.
The ending?
I mean, the ending is just he bashes his head in with a statue, right? And then he's standing in like the moonlight.
Plagueis gets caught up in a fight and he's like almost dead, and he's able to keep himself like somewhat alive. Yeah, and then he gets killed. But like Dooku manipulation is in that book. A lot of stuff is in there. The training of Darth Sidious, his early days in Naboo. And I think
he has like brown hair.
I don't want to give it away too much, but does the book not? I might have to just listen to it again. Doesn't the book start with him like killing everybody in a ship, like his parents and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
okay.
it starts with Tenebrae.
Okay.
The Biff, he kills Tenebrae.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's.
I guess I'm gonna have to go back and listen again.
Yeah.
They're in a cave and Plagueis kills his master.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, but Palpatine kills his people too.
Yeah, and eats hearts.
Yeah, and
It's a lot of good stuff.
Vicious. Well, and they also introduce in that book the planet where they send the Sith to just murder a bunch of people to like whatever creatures on this poor planet. They're like, we're gonna drop you off here, and just gotta survive.
Yep.
And so basically, it's a planet where they just toy with whatever creature, whatever these barbarians that are there, knowing that they're there to die. Sidious is just like killing like all these people, like it's nothing. Like, is that all you got?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Like they picked like a barbarian planet too. It was like they specifically picked like simple people.
Yeah. And it's just like, go run amok. Let's see your Sith powers. Like, get angry. Like, kill them all.
Dude, I'm trying. Okay, because this is gonna bother me, and then we can call it because I actually do have to go to bed at some point tonight. I gotta wake up and work tomorrow.
It's okay. Felicity says, reread the book, guys. All right, that'll be a bet. We'll get through the prequels.
All right, and then we can.
And then after the original trilogy, we'll do a couple of the EU complementary books. How about that? We'll do Plagueis.
Did you read? Did you do Shatterpoint?
Of course.
Oh, dude, Shatterpoint.
But I gotta do it again. It's been a while. So
it was like Star Wars Vietnam.
Yeah,
It was so cool. But I'm trying to remember, Luke. You can help me remember. Doesn't he bash his head in?
He does.
He crushes
him under a rock. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about Plagueis. I swear he bashes Plagueis.
Look at his next comment. It says yes.
Yeah, but he's talking about Plagueis kills his master, crushing him under rocks. Other one.
Well, we're just gonna have to read it again.
Yeah. Sick. I'm down. Yeah, it's the Star Wars we love.
I freaking love it, man. I freaking love it. Well, that was episode 2.
Argument?
I don't think we have an argument, man. I think we just talked about everything we loved. We overly nitpicked some of the silliness that we still love.
Yep.
We picked out ships and characters and scenes and just kind of cut up some of the cool things that we really love. And we dug deep a little bit into the EU that complements the story, man. I don't think we need to say anything else.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. And the next 2 are like, I don't know. The next 4 are amazing. But I mean, the next 2 are big ones, dude. Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope those are
you
big
better
ones.
get ready for like 2 hours easy.
Yeah, easily 2 on Revenge of the Sith. I'll make sure to go potty and drink lots of water.
Yeah. Well, I could run it while you're gone.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everybody.
Your chat was freaking MVP again.
Yeah.
You guys kept us in line.
I don't even have to run the channel. He just does it for me.
Who, me? Oh, I'm just being. You speak. If you don't like the chat, you can tell them.
This dude throws a wrench, and every time I like come up with something to say, he just throws a fucking monkey wrench right in front of me. No, I do, honestly. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. Luke, it's good to see you back in the chat and talking and enjoying the conversation. There has been nothing bad in the chat tonight. Nothing bad, no crazy arguments, nothing nuts going on. Just the Star Wars that we love, and I am legitimately enjoying the absolute hell out of this series. It seems like you guys are too. So come on back next Friday because we're going to do it again and talk about one of the fan favorites of all time, Revenge of the Sith.
My favorite one.
Got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We'll see you guys next Friday. Obviously, I left a link. You already know who Jay is, but the link is down in the bottom. Go subscribe to my friend, and we will see you guys on the next one. Chicka chicka chow.
1 X-Wing? Great. We're saved.
I don't want an X-Wing, I'm